do you get the sense that the Bears are kind of bending a little more, and if they can keep pounding them, there will come a break point?
Here's the handoff, Dillon around the left side.
Yeah.
Fighting to the goal line. Touchdown, Green Bay Packers.
We're really proud of our team, just the resiliency we showed to be down 13 points on the road. Our guys kept battling. They stuck together.
Handoff goes to the running back up the middle. Montgomery is met in the hole. Swing to the right leg. Line drive kick. It's short. It might have been partially blocked. And the Bears are turned away empty.
It was great to see contributions in all three phases. I think anytime you're +3, you're going to have a great opportunity at winning the game.
Fires right side, intercepted out of bounds. Keyshawn Nixon to seal the deal.
The win against the Bears is always a little more special. Another fourth quarter comeback. Definitely didn't want to be walking in here losing to the Bears. It's been a nice 8 straight for us.
Final seconds tick away, and the Green Bay Packers come from way off the pace today to knock off the Chicago Bears 28-19.
The Packers secured their 4th straight sweep of the Chicago Bears on Sunday. Another streak to come from the game? Christian Watson now has 4 straight games with a touchdown.
Throws, end zone, Watson, touchdown!
It's really cool to see his confidence grow and his personality really come out.
If I see nothing in front of me, I know it's looking pretty good.
There he goes! He leaps into the end zone for the dagger! Touchdown!
Speed kills again.
What's the schedule for you guys this week? I mean, I know the players aren't practicing, but how about for you and the coaches?
Yeah, I told our staff to get out of here. We'll reconvene on Monday, and what's great, I guess, kind of what you learn is how easy it is to work when you're on the road after going, especially the COVID year. So everybody's got projects. We're doing a lot of self-scout, and then getting ahead on some future opponents. But you know, I think anymore we can work remotely.
I don't know if you had your left tackle getting his appendix removed on your bingo card for this year.
Did not. There's been a few things that have not anticipated, but that's what make this league fun, you know.
How do you think Zach did in just the line as a whole?
Yeah, I thought the O-line did a nice job. Zach has, you know, been super reliable, which is really cool to see, especially a rookie going in. It was nice that we had at least a little bit of time to prepare for it. So it's just, but it's unfortunate for Dave, certainly. I know he was bummed, and I think Dave's been playing some really good ball, and I think Elton's gotten better. Our line as a whole, I would say, is progressing. The continuity is always a big deal there. So, but I thought Zach went in there and did a great job.
Do you know what Bakhtiari's timetable for recovery might be?
You know, I do not. I do not. So we'll see how he feels when we come back from the bye and see where he's at. But you know, I from what I've been told, it could be a while. So we'll see where he's at.
Good feedback from Aaron on how he held up with, you know, the extra gear and getting through it a week after the shot to the ribs.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he held up pretty nicely. So, you know, he seemed to be in great spirits after the game, which is always a good sign. And, you know, just my limited interaction with him today he seemed to be doing well.
Man, I think you said last night that Aaron Jones could have gone in if you needed him. You held him out. Any concern about him after the bye?
No, I think he'll be in good shape. You know, as a matter of fact, I talked to him a little bit today, just about that scenario, and I know he's the ultimate competitor. He always wants to be in there and helping his teammates, but I mean, guys, he can take a beating now, and you know, you always get a little concerned when it's like every series he's up, he's down, he's up, he's down, and that happened a few times in the game. where he was just working through, getting landed on or whatever. And certainly we're a much better football team when he is on the field and he's going, or as close to 100% as he can. But I thought, AJ did a great job kind of picking up the slack, running behind his pads, getting downhill. PT got a few snaps in there, and the one rush he had, I thought he did a great job with that as well.
Obviously, Christian scored a lot of touchdowns for you. Does he need to get the ball more? I don't mean like forcing him the ball, but are there opportunities to get him the ball? Because he does a lot of touchdowns, but not a lot of touches.
Yeah. Then it's going to go back to Aaron Jones not getting the ball. So, no, yeah, you're always trying to, obviously you want to get your playmakers the ball, and he's done a great job when we've gotten him the ball of making some big-time plays. And so, yeah, we'll continue to look, and I think right now is a great time for us to look at different ways that you can potentially give him the ball, whether it's on those jet sweeps and what else we can build off of that. But he is an explosive player, no doubt about it. You've seen it 2 weeks in a row where he outruns everybody. So, and then he also had a big time, was that 38 yards on the pass interference? So you're talking about a few plays in this game that were just big time, meaningful plays. So certainly he's a guy that you want to give as many opportunities to as possible.
With Christian, being the player he is now, and Romeo Doubs coming back from the injury, how excited are you to get those two on the field and run this offense with both of those guys clicking?
Yeah, it'll be great. I mean, the more weapons you have, the better you feel, and the more you can, get other people involved. So I feel really good about where our receiving core is and where it's progressing to, and it'll be nice to have everybody available. I think Allen Lazard made some huge plays in the game as well. I mean, a lot of those were critical third down catches, and we all know what he does and what he means to the run game. So, having all those guys up and available will definitely help us.
Matt, Aaron said to Fox after the game that Romeo looked like he was going to play, and then he tweaked something on Friday. Is that the case? And do you feel like with the bye week that should be enough for him to be ready for the Rams finally?
Yeah, I would think that we'll get Rome back. So we worked him out in pregame. We were hopeful that he was going to be able to play a limited role. That wasn't the case. I know he's doing everything he can. He's diligent about his rehab and just the process that you got to go through to get back. And I know he's definitely eager to be back out on the field and be able to contribute. And so, yeah, definitely excited to hopefully get him back in the fold next game.
Aaron was saying yesterday, oftentimes over his time here, he hopes the kick returner will just take a knee or let it go if it's going into the end zone, but he says he tells Keyshawn to take it out every single time.
Well, no wonder why he's taking it out every single time.
Is that not what you tell him to do? But that wasn't serious.
I mean, that's kind of it's certainly Keyshawn's earned more opportunities to have a little bit more freedom with it. I just told him, though, if we're starting a bunch of these inside our 25-yard line, that freedom is going to get taken away. So I love how Keyshawn plays, though. His mentality, I mean, both on teams, as a returner, as a flyer, whatever it may be, he does a great job. And then you're starting to see, obviously, more contributions from the defensive side. So I think he's got a dog mentality, and it's infectious. He's got great energy. He prepares the right way. He's just a heck of a competitor, and certainly glad that he's on our team.
That was my actual question. Like when Rich sold him or sold you on him over the summer, is this kind of what you guys envisioned him being, what he's been for the last couple months?
Well, I would say that he's probably exceeded what my expectations were, which is always a good thing. So I think he's really done a great job, and he's got a great attitude, and he practices hard, and I think it's reflective in his play.
Is the matter of using him more on punt return just sort of a matter of getting him more reps since he hasn't done that as much?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you're saying because he didn't return. Yeah, I think it's game by game. It's situation by situation.
That one backed up, you just wanted to make sure you had Randall back there to secure the catch.
Randall did a great job.
Hey, Matt, since we reached the point in the press conference where we're bringing up all the things Aaron Rodgers said yesterday, I need to ask you about this. At the end of his answer about Christian and whether or not his performance makes him more willing to come back next year, the sentence he said was, "There's got to be mutual desire on both sides." Can you say that if Aaron Rodgers wants to play football next year, that you want him to be your quarterback? So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course. So, but you know, you guys know how I feel. Like, I have a hard time looking past the LA Rams right now. So, and obviously this week is going to be great to kind of dig into ourselves and look at the film critically. In every phase and try to challenge our guys in different areas that we can improve. But then the focus will turn to the LA Rams. So that's where my mind is right now. But yeah, absolutely.
So the reason I ask is just when you look at his season, I'm curious to this point through 13 games with all the changes and not having Tay and the injuries he's had, how do you kind of assess the year he's had, and no matter how excited you are about the progress Jordan has made, that doesn't, I assume, change how you feel about him either.
Yeah, I think we've got a great problem in terms of when you have confidence in multiple people. You'd rather have that, and you know, I do think, like, just thinking about expectations, and certainly people expect, we all expect a certain level from him every time, and especially when you're coming off back-to-back MVP seasons. And I think you got to be realistic about the situation too, in terms of you're losing almost your entire receiving core, and there's a lot of new pieces around you, and there's going to be a learning curve to that. And not to make excuses, it is what it is. Like, we always expect and you know, want to play that perfect game each and every time we go out on the field. So, you know, I think collectively everybody's got to be better, starting with myself. So I just think, you know, expectations are a funny thing to try to manage. And but certainly I think as an offense, I think we are showing improvement over the last few games in terms of just a little bit more consistency, and I still think there's a handful of snaps that, you know, you look back at yesterday and you're like, we should be better there. You know, some missed opportunities where maybe you're not down 19-10 or whatever it was in the fourth quarter. So I just think it's, you know, it's a collective effort with everybody.
Matt, over the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of players across the league speak out against the turf, and guys in your locker room sort of led the discussion on that. From your perspective, what is the risk reward there?
Well, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that, to be truthful. You know, I'm for what our players want, and I do think that it's just like why we like to practice out on the grass. I think it's better for everybody to be on the grass, but you know, there's a lot of factors that go into whether or not somebody has turf or grass.
Hey Matt, how did some of the explosive plays against your defense kind of rear their head again yesterday?
Yeah, no, it was disappointing. Certainly, just the number of explosive plays that we had, and a couple of those, you know, again, if we play disciplined football and we trust the techniques and all that, and, you know, there's going to be times when you get beat, but it's just when you're not doing the right things or somebody messes up and you give up those plays, That's frustrating and that's disappointing. But, you know, like Keyshawn Nixon had a free run at the quarterback, and now, granted, Justin Fields is a hell of an athlete, hell of a quarterback. He can make you miss. So I don't put that all on Keyshawn. Like, we need more hats at the ball. And so you can kind of mitigate some of those big plays. Not to say, everybody, there's great competition in this league. That's what makes this league so fun to watch, so fun to be a part of. It's just how competitive it is each and every game. And, you know, there's some talented players on the other side sometimes. So, but I think it's just getting all 11, making sure that everybody's doing their job to the best of their ability. There's no time. You can't take, you can never relax, whether you're on offense, defense, or on teams. As soon as you relax, you get beat. We got too much evidence of that occurring. So we gotta make sure that everybody's locked in, dialed in, every play to the call, and got to be their best at all times.
Right, you mentioned some of the adjustments that Aaron's had to deal with the wide receiving core, et cetera. As a play caller, you've had to adjust and deal with those too. I know you've been pretty critical of yourself in terms of play calling. You were rough on yourself yesterday for the missed call by the officials affecting you. But do you feel like you're kind of getting into a better place in terms of knowing what you have, knowing what your guys' strengths are, and calling plays that you feel better about, that you're not beating yourself up about?
Yeah, I think so. But I think as a play caller, you always put everything on yourself to dial up the right play versus the right looks. And in reality, I know it's not always going to work out that way. So, but that's one of the things that's in your control. So that's in your control. You're going to be, you better be critical and honest with yourself.
Two more, please.
But I think we're definitely finding a better rhythm, I would say, on the offensive side of the ball, and it certainly helps the more you know about these guys and try to put them in the right position in how you want to attack a defense.
So Roger said that once you told him the first play call you had for the 2-point conversion, he walked away and didn't want to hear any of the other options. Do you have to kind of tier your ideas to make sure you get your best one first in case he's going to bail on you? And do you feel like that was a pretty good play call?
Yeah, no, it was great execution too. Our guys, matter of fact, I thought Chicago did a nice job defending the initial. What we were trying to do is fake the jet sweep with Christian and counter him back quickly out to the flat, just based on what we saw on tape on how they adjusted to things. And we had run, you know, obviously some jet sweeps with them to the single receiver side. But I thought they did a nice job of kind of passing it off. But you know, we call that route that the big dog ran, we call it a drip. And he did a great job just kind of caving in that right side and sneaking out the back door. So I think that's something that we've gotten beat on a couple times this year as well from a defensive standpoint. That's just a tough play, I think, to defend when you're able to have a guy in line showing that he's blocking and just kind of continue on through.
It's obviously been a long year, a little bit tough year, but there's been some bright spots, and it was good. Always good to beat the Bears, so I appreciate you guys. There's probably going to be some questions you guys want to talk about that I'm not going to, talk about to the off season, but I appreciate it anyways.
Do you think you need a more consistent look at Jordan in game action before you make the decision on his option, or do you have a good idea about what you have in him before you do make that call?
No, we're really pleased with his progression, and what he's been able to do. I think that it would be really good for him. The growth that you need to go through, seeing things for the first time, making those mistakes that you need to make. But I think from our end of it, we've seen what we need to see.
Brian, do you want Aaron back next year, or is that something that you just don't decide till the off season?
Well, certainly that's an off season kind of decision, but surely, yeah, we want all our guys back. And we made a big commitment to him this off season, and So that was obviously, something that was really important to us. But like we've talked about in the past, I mean, this is something we'll sit down with him after the season, and it'll be something we do together and move forward that way.
He had said last night after the game that, there has to be mutual interest, so I assume he was, mentioning if you guys are interested in him.
Yeah, I mean, it is mutual, right? I mean, on his part too. So, I think, like I said, I mean, he's, what he's been able to do here and play through what he's played through the past 6, 7, 8 games, whatever it is. I mean, he's a tough son of a gun now. And so, but again, I think with what he's accomplished here, what he's done for this organization, that is certainly something that we'll sit down together and work through as we get through the offseason. But those are offseason, questions.
You had a pretty big decision to make this past offseason of kind of a fork in the road, whether or not you want to extend Aaron or start a rebuild. With how the season's gone, 5-8, not going to make the playoffs, is there any regret in the decision and the way that you took?
Yeah, I don't think I looked at it as like a fork in the road, like we were going to have to tear it down and rebuild or anything like that. So, but no regrets, no, not at all. I think obviously heading into the season, being the number 1 seed the last 2 seasons, leading into this season, a lot of high hopes, right? We were certainly expected to be competing for a championship, and we are still in it. So if we were able to dig our way back into this thing, we still kind of feel like we have the ability to do that. But this season has not gone as we expected. But I think back then when we made those decisions, certainly we were looking at a different outcome right now.
How does that happen, Brian? You've been around the league long enough to know that nothing's promised. So obviously you came off 3 great seasons in a row. You're expecting the same, obviously. What happened?
I think every season's new, right? I mean, every season's different. I think you can't ever really completely count on what you had the season before carrying over to the next season. And I think obviously we had some moving pieces, some different things heading into the season. It's just taken us a little while to gel. But I do think that there's been some really positive signs of late, and we just got to continue to be more consistent. But I just think, it's every season is new. Every team, no matter how talented, has to come together. They have to kind of, go through that early part of the season and find kind of their identity a little bit, and I think it's taken us a little while.
Can I ask a dumb question?
No.
Well, go ahead anyway. So, why is it important to win these games? You're a super long shot to make the playoffs. If you were to lose these games, not intentionally losing them, but let's go throw the young guys in there. You get those guys some experience. You might get a top 5 draft pick, which you guys haven't had the luxury. I guess from your perspective, why is it important to win these games?
I think it's a culture thing. I think winning is a culture thing, and I think this doesn't. I mean, I don't think we ever roll out there on a Sunday or I guess Monday, Thursday, whatever it is nowadays, without the intention of winning. This place has a long history. Accomplishing that winningest franchise of all time was kind of cool yesterday, and rightly so. And I just think that's what this place has always been about, and at least while I'm here, it's always going to be.
Brian, have you expressed to Rodgers that if he wants to play, that you want him back? I'm just trying to figure out why he would have said what he said yesterday.
Yeah, that's probably a better question for him. But no, we talk. We haven't really talked about those things. We don't talk about those things during the season very often. We just talk more about our team when we speak. Certainly that'll be something we get to when we get out. But I mean, again, we went through something in the offseason where it was a very big commitment on our part. It wasn't certainly for 1 year. So, but no, we don't. We really haven't any conversations about that stuff during the season.
You said that you've seen enough from Jordan. He's played 1 game in 3 quarters basically in his career. Why is that? Why have you seen enough?
Yeah, I just think he's had, I think obviously we've seen him for 3 years in practice and doing the things that he's doing. I think, there was a stretch here while Aaron's been banged up where he's had a lot of reps with the ones. I think it was great for him. I think that was just, it was great for us to see, but it was also just really, really good for him and experience, game planning each week. And, again, I mean, I think quarterbacks got to get into this league, play a bunch of games before they learn how to win. But I do think we feel very confident that Jordan can move the ball, score points, and do the things that we ask of our quarterbacks. So,
you feel confident at this point with what you've seen that he is a starting level quarterback in the league?
Yeah. Now, again, those guys have got to go out and do it in real games and all that. And I think that's important. But all young quarterbacks go through a period of time where no matter what individual success, I think it takes him a little bit of time to learn how to win in this league. And that's going to be important for Jordan whenever he gets his opportunity. But that's a big part of it. I mean, it's, learning within the game is very important for that development.
Aaron also said something, Brian, about, he'd be open to conversation if you guys do get eliminated by one way or another, to allow Jordan to get some of those reps before the season is out. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think, obviously if we get to that point, we'll kind of look at those things. But I think no matter, even if we're eliminated from the playoffs, which it wouldn't be ideal, I said we're going to still go out to win the game, right? I think that's really important. There's a bunch of guys in that locker room that deserve that. So we're going to go out to win the game. We're going to make the decisions that are in the best interest of us going and winning the game.
Do you want to see him win a game?
For sure. I mean, whoever's playing, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. It's as long as, I think whoever gives us the best chance to win needs to be out there. That's only fair to this locker room. That's the way I feel about it. I think Matt feels the same. So, there's always kind of, different ways to look at things. But football is a little bit different game than some others. We'll make those decisions when we get there, what's best for the football team and going out and winning those games.
How did you approach the trade deadline, and was there an opportunity that was missed to give this team more ammunition on the offensive side, especially a receiver? Did you see an opportunity for that?
There was lots of I don't know what you call them. There wasn't really any opportunities that presented themselves that made any sense. There was a lot of conversation, and there was a lot of things that, hey, this might help us. But it's like anything. I think you have to have a walkaway point, and when those prices became certain prices, we walked away.
What happened to this defense?
Yeah, I think certainly we've had our struggles as of late. I thought there were some good things last night, and we got some turnovers, which was important. I think there's it's never one thing. It's always a bunch of different things, and I think. I thought early in the season there were some really strong flashes of three and outs and different kind of things. We weren't generating a lot of turnovers early, and then we just kind of got into a stretch where we weren't playing as well as I think we can. Again, I've seen some growth over the past few weeks in different areas. It's just the consistency part is what's been a little frustrating.
Brian, for lack of a better term, the Devontae production replacement plan. Did you just think it's kind of gotten derailed? Through the injuries to Christian and Romeo and how much you might have missed out by not seeing a few more snaps of those guys?
Yeah, that's probably fair. I think when you're a rookie, you got so much on your plate to begin with, and then when the injury things come in, it's that much more. And I think it takes time to develop trust within the offense and to gel. And when you're not out there, it just makes it that much more difficult. So that's probably fair.
Ryan, what have you thought, though, of the stretch that Christian's been on? And with his utilization, is this what you sort of saw when you looked at him in terms of the different things he can do for this offense?
Yeah, you got to give that kid a lot of credit because obviously the way the season started, going into camp with the surgery, and then kind of having to miss that time, and then just kind of falling behind and because of different injuries and stuff. I think a lot of guys that would have been it, right? And hey, let's get to the next season and see how it goes. But I give him a lot of credit for not losing faith and not losing his work ethic, because when the opportunities presented themselves, obviously he's made the most of them. So, I think that the thing I'm most proud about with Christian right now is just I think he really has a desire to be great, and he's not walking around here like he's arrived in any way. I think he truly wants to be the best version of himself that he can be, and he knows there's still a lot of work out there for him, but. I think it's always exciting to see when young players finally get opportunities, them being prepared and ready to make contributions. And you got to give our coaching staff a lot of credit there as well because, when those opportunities presented themselves, he was ready and he took advantage of it. And Rome did early in the season as well.
We talked about it at the time of the draft, the unusual nature of that trade. Mm-hmm. Do you have a bit of a sigh of relief to see him doing so well in that light of having shipped a couple of picks to a rival for that?
I always have a sigh of relief when our players do well, but no, I don't necessarily. We kind of move forward. I'm not really looking back and all that. I'm just really happy for the player and for Christian. He's done a heck of a job on his own, fighting through some of these things and just being prepared for his opportunities. And it's not easy making it in this league, especially as a young player and coming in with a quarterback. Who has a standard that is so high, and so those guys have been fighting really hard to get to that standard, and to see that kind of come to the other side of it's kind of really nice to see.
On what you've seen, what got into him? Because it sounds like Rodgers and even LaFleur were saying that there weren't a lot of signs early on in the season with the injuries and everything that this was coming, and I don't know if anyone could have predicted this, but what's been the difference between what you saw first 9 weeks and the past month?
I think it's just really opportunity, you know. I think, and that's usually what it comes down to for a lot of players. I mean, you know, especially young players, is having opportunity to go out there in games and make their mistakes and still get to the other side of it. You know, still get the opportunities once they make those mistakes. And you know, with Christian, I mean, it wasn't he's not been perfect, you know, but he had some opportunities, didn't go his way, but he never he just kept moving forward, kept fighting forward. And I think that's kind of a great lesson for all of our players, is that it's never going to be perfect. You're going to have some mistakes, but if you keep moving forward and keep grinding, you know, when the opportunities do start to fall your way again, then you got to be ready for it.
If Christian and Romeo can get on the field together at the same time, it hasn't been a lot. What kind of, you know, long term, how good of a combination do you think those two guys can be, and how would that stress defenses, you know, down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, when you throw Samari in there as well, I think he's done a heck of a job as well. It's just, it would be nice to get all those guys, you know, out there at the same time and getting opportunities. But, you know, obviously Alan and Kabi and even Sammy have done some good things for us too. So it's a little bit of a crowded room. But I do think I'm very high on those guys' ceilings and what they could do as a group.
Goody, when you, I don't know what Mark called it, the Davante replacement plan, was there more to that plan? Like, did you try, whether it was at, you know, during the draft or leading into training camp or at the end of training camp, did you want a little more experience? So as your 3 draft picks went through their growing pains, that you had other options, or were you kind of liking what you had as soon as you got done with the draft?
Well, I think we kind of did that. Obviously, Randall came back, Alan brought back, and Sammy went and got. So I think we brought some experience in the room that wasn't in the room prior, right? You know, I mean, it wasn't in the room. We didn't have them under contract, right? So we brought those guys back, and that was important. We look at, as you guys know, our process is to look at a lot of different things when those things become available, and we certainly, whether it was in the draft last year, through training camp and the trade deadline and all those things, we looked at a lot of different things, and you know, you always weigh the how that's going to affect your club. You know, like if you bring in a player from the outside, and how that's going to affect the room itself. You know, and the opportunities those guys get as well. So we looked at all that, and certainly if the right guy was there for the right price, we would have done that, but it just never materialized.
So, like Matt was talking about, you know, or looking at play calls that he makes, and, you know, wishing he'd done something different. From a GM's perspective, it's not like you know, these guys the coaches are breaking down film and saying, oh, I should have called this. When you look at some of the decisions you've made, how do you kind of assess? I know you're not going to, you know, think back on them and, gosh, I wish I would have done this. But at the same time, do you look at the Davante thing and think?
You know, hindsight's always 20/20. I think you never really know if you're talking about bringing outside players in here. You never know how they're going to, you know, just because they flourish somewhere else doesn't mean they're going to flourish here. You never really know that. But I assess us that we're 5-8. I mean, you know, that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. But yeah, you always study, I think, the things that in the past, just to kind of, you know, I think that's always important. But you can't dwell on it too much. You got to keep moving forward.
I'm just curious, because you look at Christian and you look at Romeo. It looks like you picked 2 really good players, and Samari could be as well. But you never had a situation where rookies had to come in and do what they've had to do right away, right? Like when Davante was a rookie, you already had Jordy and Randall. When Jordy was a rookie, you already had Jennings and Driver. And I'm just wondering, you know, you get a deal done with 17 before the 2021 season, and now you've suddenly got the best receiver in football, and you got these young guys who are developing at their pace. And
yeah, but you probably wouldn't have those young guys. You know what I mean? It's easy to go back and say that. So? No, I think it, you know, it's like anything. I mean, it changes the dynamics of what you think you might need. You know, right? And again, there was money and draft picks involved in those things that really kind of didn't make a lot of sense to us. Davante's a great player, and you know, certainly keeping him around here was a priority for us. But once we realized that's not what he wanted, and we weren't going to be able to get a deal done, it was really just a matter of we could franchise him and then it became, a whole different set of decisions we weren't going to be able to do. So, yeah, I mean, I don't spend too much time looking back there. Whenever you lose a player the caliber of Tay, you're going to have to overcome it. I mean, you're going to have to do different things to overcome it. And I think we struggled out of the gate to do that. But at the same time, I think that room particularly looks pretty bright moving forward.
What will you do this offseason if a team calls and wants to trade for Jordan Love?
Those are hypotheticals, and we'll kind of see where we are at that point. Who knows? I mean, we're really excited about Jordan, and where he's going, where he's developing. Like I said, we'll get to the offseason and we'll work all through that.
You're asked about what happened on defense, and obviously it hasn't reached expectations. But if you look on paper, across the board, there's guys that are known. There's talented names, and just about none of them are having their best years. Where do you think the disconnect is there? Is that coaching? How's that happen across the board?
I think it's never one thing, as you know. I mean, it's never one thing. I think, and I've said this before up here, we do have a lot of talented guys on defense. But they got to come together as a team, and that takes some sacrifice on their part as well as everybody in this building to be. If you're going to be a good team, you're going to be a good unit. And there's a lot that goes into that. Again, we got a lot of season left. We've got 4 games that are really important to us around here. And I expect those guys to continue working towards that.
Is it hard to operate as an organization when after the season you don't know if your starting quarterback is going to be back and you're stuck wondering whether he's going to return or not?
Repeat that again. Is it hard to
operate as an organization that after the season you have to have these conversations with your starting quarterback and you're left wondering if he's going to return?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, again, we're fortunate to have two really good quarterbacks, and as we move into that time period, we'll make those decisions as we go. But as I've been taught from the time I walked into this building, whatever comes with having great quarterbacks, it's worth it. So,
Brian, looking at next year, is the risk worth the reward with Bakhtiari? And what I mean by that is, as we saw before the Washington game, he can wake up any day and his knee's not feeling good enough to play. Forget the appendix stuff. Yeah. You guys also have other guys who can play left tackle pretty well, but when he is healthy, he's pretty darn good. Can you afford to keep a guy who presents that risk at the salary you would have to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Back's been through a tough stretch here, right? He actually, as he got through the beginning of the season, he went through a stretch of games. That Thursday night game coming off a Sunday night, Sunday game, and where I thought he played really, really well, and it was holding up really well. And obviously, just snake bit with the appendectomy and what he's going through right now. But he's playing at a very, very high level. Left tackles don't, grow on trees, and we've had some guys fill in excellent for him. I mean, Zach Tom coming in and doing what he's done as a rookie. And some of the last-minute fires he's been thrown into has been pretty impressive. So, but again, another off-season decision. We'll try to get through all that stuff and see how everything fits. There's so many things that are interdependent on each other, but again, he's playing at a really, really high level for us.
Hey, Goody, just procedurally, because I don't always know about the flow chart here. Does Matt have full autonomy over the coaching staff, or is that something that you, Russ, Matt, and Mark all talk about? How does that procedurally work?
Matt has, Matt can hire him. That's his decision completely. But we are, Russ, Murph, and I are all supportive of whatever we support him in whatever ways we can. But those are his